Welcome back to the SC-100 course. We are going to start diving into Microsoft Entra Identity protection. So we wrapped up pretty much our Azure policies, and we need to kind of get an understanding of identities because that is going to be on the SC-100 test a lot. So one of the first things I want to start really talking about and doing a deep dive in is identity protection. So Microsoft Identity Protection is really important because if every time you look on the news or if you're on any social media platform, you're constantly seeing that identities are being compromised. Now, sometimes people are using that as a scapegoat if they make some type of ill-willed public remark, or if they put something on Twitter and they start getting bashed about it. And in order for them to not get, and I say in quotes, canceled, because that doesn't even exist, but whatever, what they're doing is they are now going to say, hey, my account was hacked. So when they say account is hacked, that's really about their identity being hacked. So Microsoft has the Entra ID protection. And what exactly does that mean? So identity protection is a tool in Microsoft Entra ID that automates the detection and remediation of identity-based risk. It analyzes sign-ins and user behavior to detect anomalies and apply conditional policies, which is basically conditional access policies, which we are going to start talking about that as well. So some of the core capabilities of Microsoft Entra Identity Protection is it detects risk related to user accounts and sign-ins. So things like impossible travel. So impossible travel basically means if you sign in from Atlanta, Georgia at 4 o'clock p.m. and then you sign in from Spain at 4:30 p.m., there's no way that can even happen unless you're Superman. So they call it impossible travel. They also had another name. I think it was, I've heard of like Superman travel or something like that. It's been a little while, but most of the time you're going to see impossible travel. And there's no way you can do that. So that's what impossible travel means. So unfamiliar sign-ins, malwares, IPs, so on and so forth. Now, it's really important to be able to manage and monitor identities because users don't really pay attention to it. All they're doing is trying to get in to do their work. So you have things like, the way you would do your password complexity, and then also monitoring when they sign in, because if a user gets compromised with their personal account, like a Gmail account, all a hacker really needs to do is now go on LinkedIn, see where you work at, get your social media information. They might even not even need to go on LinkedIn. It might be on their Facebook or their Instagram or whatever social media, depending on how much of their life they want to showcase to the world. That hacker can now easily find out where you work at and then now try to sign in with those permissions. And even if you have multi-factor authentication where you have a second prompt to authenticate besides your password, some people will see a prompt and just allow it thinking that the computer is acting up or something like that. So it's really important that we have the identity protection in place so that this way we can make sure that we are keeping our tenant and our organization's data protected. So unfamiliar sign-ins really help out with that. And then malware IPs. Also, it automatically responds via conditional access, provides risk reports and insights for security operations, enables self-remediation through user actions. So things like password resets, you can force that on your users based on a specific trigger. So type of risk detected. So there is a user risk and there's sign-in risk. So user risk indicates a compromised identity, leaked credentials, atypical user activity. Then the sign-in risk indicates a risky sign-in attempt, anonymous IP addresses, impossible travel, malware-linked IPs. So how does identity protection work? So this diagram here I've got from Microsoft is depicting how the identity protection works. So you have certain conditions. So those conditions can be a user and location. Remember I talked about the impossible travel, somebody signed in from Atlanta, Georgia, or anywhere, and they're getting to another area and signed in from another area that's thousands of miles away. You can't do that. Then device, based on your device, then you are allowed to get into the corporate network. So if you have a device that has a company agent installed and it is up to date with the antivirus and things of that nature, then you would allow it. Then you also have application. Based on the application, then you will be able to get into how you get into the environment is different. So some applications have a higher priority, there are higher confidential information associated with it. So in that case, you may have stricter conditions around that application. Then you have user risk level sign-in risk, which we've been talking about. Based on that risk, then you have certain conditions that will be applied. So in the middle section, you have apply access control. So that's allow access, require MFA, change password, or block access. Now, depending on the user location, you can say, I'm going to block access. Some organizations say, hey, you need to be within the green zone, meaning their safe IP range in order for you to get access. But they may only do that if you're trying to get access. Now, if you're trying to get access to an application, then that will be a part of two conditions, your location and the application. Then you will be allowed access or require MFA. So you can mix and match these conditions, and there are more conditions than that. And then you can apply access control to those conditions. And then finally, when you meet those conditions, as you can see there, those dotted lines only apply to allow access, require MFA, and change password. Then you see the dotted lines and the arrow goes to apps and data. So that's essentially how identity protection works. And we are going to go and do a deep dive and go in front of the portal so I can show you a little bit more about identity protection and conditional access later on in subsequent videos. So identity protection policies. User risk policies trigger remediation based on compromised accounts. Sign-in risk policies enforce rules during risky sign-ins. Then you have MFA registration policies, ensures all users are enrolled in MFA. So let's talk a little bit about use cases. Block compromised accounts before they cause damage. Another thing is force password reset after suspicious activity. And then monitor and report on at-risk users for investigation. So that really wraps up the Microsoft Entra identity protection. We are going to continue talking more about identities and conditional access policies in subsequent videos. So I want to thank you for watching this video. Hopefully you were able to digest and make sense of everything. If there is anything that you're not sure of at this moment, I would say continue to watch. And you can also send me a message as well. But you know, it will start to make more sense once we get to conditional access policies and you start seeing things on the screen. It will probably make more sense to you later on in this course. So I hope this information I provided you was beneficial. Here at Cloud Scholars, my goal is to get you from scholar to consultant and, of course, consultant to expert. Thank you, and see you next time.